Welcome back everyone to another episode of the Crafty Crow Show. Today's a pretty exciting day. Today we are doing some Civil War history. And we'll see a little bit of World War II history. Again, down here, Charleston, South Carolina. And we're going to go look at some of the history of the 1860s. And see what all we can see. I ain't going to tell you what it is yet. It's going to be a surprise. But stick with us, come with us. Let's go have some fun and do some exploring. So we're all here this morning, getting ready to get on a ferry boat and go out to Fort Sumpter. But one cool thing, we'd visit this place almost every year growing up when we'd go on vacation. We'd come down. We're not going to hit it this time. We're going to hit it the next time. Give us something to look forward to because there's just so much to do. But looky here. USS Yorktown. Been all over that ship. It's so freaking awesome if you ever come down here to go on there and see it. I actually spent the night on the ship one time. They've got a program for the Boy Scouts, which is pretty cool. And I'll tell you that story sometime too, because it's pretty funny. But let's get in here, get our tickets, get on the ferry, and let's go do some Civil War history.
I'm one of the tallest people on this trip, thank you. Taller than Jim.
Morning.
Good morning.
Morning. It's USS Laffey. World War II destroyer. And then the Yorktown. Get you a good close view of the Yorktown going out here too.
So Pinckney is the name of the brick fort on it. It's named in honor of Charles Cotesworth Pinckney, an author and signer of the United States Constitution, and cousin of Charles Pinckney at Sea Farm, a local National Park Service site in Northwest. The current fortification on Sheets Farm was built in 1809 to 1810. However, it played no active role until 1860. In December of that year, it was virtually undefended. But when Union Major Robert Anderson moved his garrison from Fort Moultrie across the channel to Fort Sumpter, this was viewed by many South Carolinians as an act of war. In retaliation, on the next day, December 27, 1860, approximately 150 South Carolina militia captured Castle Pinckney without incident. Maintained throughout the war, it played a minor role in the defenses of Charleston Harbor. It briefly served as a prison for Union soldiers captured at Manassas in 1861. Castle Pinckney is now owned by a local camp of sons of Confederate veterans.
So I don't know if you heard any of that or not. That's Castle Pinckney. And this where the cross was, I remember on the previous tour, them saying that that's where they would hang pirates and stuff back years and years ago, which is the reason for the cross there. They would put that out for everybody in the town and the area of Charleston to see them out hanging and to warn other pirates from coming in. And then if you can see way off in the distance, that's Fort Sumpter. Fort Sumpter.
Just use your imagination to think of those walls as 3 stories tall, 50 feet high. You can see that mark on the flagpole now. That makes the height of the exterior walls.
Yeah, as he was saying, it used to be a 3-story structure. It's just got knocked down during the Civil War to this 1 story. But if you can see that mark on the flagpole, he said that was the original height of the fort walls. He said the black part of the structure was an addition in the 1890s when they were upgrading the coastal defenses. So that's why it looks a little different. That wasn't originally there.
The fort, by the way, was designed to hold about 135 artillery pieces and about 650.
And the reason this fort was so important is right there is the entrance to the harbor in the Atlantic Ocean. So this set right in the middle of the entrance to the harbor.
Fort Sumpter.
That was your 50 years ago.
Oh, well, there you go. Hadn't changed a bit, had it?
So you can see the size of some of these cannons. This was the naval cannons, and each one of these ports would have had a cannon sticking out of it. Total 360 coverage with artillery to protect the harbor. These things are huge. Also, another thing the tour guide noted was all these bricks were handmade by slave labor. I'll try to show you here in a minute. Some of these bricks, they said you can still see the fingerprints in them. But you have, I mean, it's already a tall wall, but maybe you can see again, there's the red mark on the flagpole. That's how high the walls used to be before all the bombardment that went on during the Civil War from both sides. See if this shows up on camera good, but right there, those little divots, that's actually fingerprints from the brick makers. Get a little closer look at one of these openings. It's bricked up now, but it would have been open. You can see the half moon shape. That's how they would have aimed the cannon. But right there is a shell still in the wall from back then. It would have come from the James Island side, come overhead, and then slammed into the wall right there. So there's an actual shell from the Civil War. And then here's kind of a 360 view from the highest point on the fort. You can see why it was such an important fort to be here in the middle of the entrance of the harbor. Now, if you remember the movie Glory, actually that fort, and I can't for the life of me remember right off, that fort was on the south end of the harbor. Out through there is where that fort was. Pretty cool, right? So a better representation of how this all would have been set up. There you've got the half moon for the carriage to move back and forth. Got the cannon here on its carriage. When you just had doors to close during bad weather and things, but this is how each one of those gun ports would have looked and been set up with cannon. I'm getting here and looking, it's amazing how much damage was done to this thing during the shelling. Some of the artillery implements. Pretty cool. Y'all need to come visit if you ever get out here to Charleston, especially if you love Civil War history. This would have been the original view of the fort, how it would have looked. So all those across the bottom is what you see now. So the whole upper levels is gone. And that's the trip to Fort Sumpter. Yeah, I didn't get a whole bunch of filming, but I hope I got enough to at least pique your interest in it. So back to the ferry boat, back to land, and probably to another Civil War fort here in the fort, in the harbor fortifications, if I get that out right. I'm trying to walk and not trip, it's kind of hard. But we'll get back to land, give a few more views on the way back in of Charleston, and we'll get over to the other fort and see what all they've got to show. Catch you back in a minute. So this is a better, a better depiction of downtown Charleston. There's Castle Pinckney that we went by, Fort Moultrie, where we are now here on Sullivan's Island, Fort Sumpter, who's right there we were just at, Fort Johnson on James Island, where the first shot was fired at Fort Sumpter. Morris Island, down through here is where the fort was, whatever the name of it was again, that Glory was done. And if you see out here, that's where the Hundley sank the ship from the Union blockade that was out here in the Atlantic Ocean. And they found the Hundley out in there. It's also here in town too. So if I get a chance to go see it, I don't know, but if you're ever in town, go look at the Hundley too, because it's still in a big tank of water. It's pretty cool. But there's kind of the layout of how the fort defenses was. And there were more forts in here all the way around. But that kind of gives you a visual of what we've been looking at and how everything was set up. This would have probably been the first Fort Moultrie. They said there's been 3. And this was all out of palmetto wood. And we'll show you that once we get out here in the fort. There's even a part of the museum here talking about the slave trade. It was a horrible time in our existence as a country. But instead of trying to erase it from history, we should learn about it so we don't repeat our mistakes again. Here's a, I'll get you back where you can see it a little better. And you've probably seen this before, how they would have put the slaves in the ships to get them over to America. And they were treated as cargo and didn't worry about whether they were comfortable or not. Apparently, looking at this, that's just horrible. One of the cool things, and let's see how much they show. Looks like some of the exhibits are removed, but we got here talking about the Low Country. The Gullah tribe, though. All the sweetgrass baskets and stuff, I believe, was started by the Gullah Geechee people. And the culture is still here and still going strong. So it's actually one of the things they brought over that they were able to keep is their traditions and their identity. And I wish they had more of these exhibits up with me moving stuff around. You know, finally, so we get you overhead shot. Fort Wagner. That's the fort I keep trying to think of. Oh, that's the one the Glory movie was made for the 54th Massachusetts assault. There's some pictures with some descriptions. Sergeant William Carney. There's a 54th Massachusetts in camp. That's pretty cool. Colonel Shaw. There's a picture of the ruins of Fort Sumpter. Pretty cool. Probably can't see him here, it's so dark. Go bro. Apparently one of the powder magazines. somewhere in this hole. So this is where they would have stored the powder. Whoa, that goes horrible. As you can tell. Like I was saying, that's where they would have stored the powder. One of these big concrete magazines. And right here would have been one of the gun emplacements. So it's a concrete structure covered by earth to absorb the impact of shells. There would have been a gun emplacement right there. So here's up to the top of the fort. I thought this was a little different, but concrete structures made in the late 1800s, like 1898, and the reason it's black is they covered it with tar to waterproof the concrete. So that's what all this black is from. Well, let's head up in here to the observation tower. So up here, you got all the flag mast, the rack for the flags. This was all World War II era additions. And a ginormous spotlight. That I bet was good and bright. Looking over here, there's an awesome view overhead of the entire fort. Also, there's more magazines over there as the fort expanded outside the initial walls they had here. And then looking out in the distance is Fort Sumpter. And between the two is the main channel going into Charleston Harbor. It's a pretty view up here. Let's see what else we can find. So if I remember my last trip here correctly, those signs out there and right about the line of stuff is where the first Fort Moultrie was built. It was palmetto logs like this tree here. Let me show you. That's a palmetto tree. It's palmetto logs they constructed right before the Revolution. And see, they held it well because they used sand, and those logs were very fibrous, so they was able to absorb cannonballs. But after the Revolutionary War, they didn't maintain it, and storms, of course, just destroyed it. It was just trees and sand. Built a second one over here a little closer, and from what I read, within 10 years, hurricane came and destroyed it. So this is actually the third Fort Moultrie that they built. And then, like I said, expansions over the years from the early 1900s, 1898 on, they expanded up until, I think it said around 1947 is when they finally closed this down. But all expansions out through there and stuff were, and this whole area apparently was just naval installation military base. So there you go, there's a little history on Fort Moultrie. I'll show you around some more. I think because of the age of this, my sister had seen Edgar Allan Poe actually served at this fort at some point in time. We'll We'll double check it and see, but that's what she's been told, and by a number of different sources. So Edgar Allan Poe, the writer, you know, the Raven, I think is the name. I can't remember any of his writings. Edgar Allan Poe served at this installation here. Don't know what years, but a long time ago. Let's look at a little more things and see what else we can see. (1873 to 1898). 15-inch Rodman smoothbores. So this would have been post-Civil War era of how the guns looked. And down into the command post of the fort. That big door. Duty officers and operations room. How it was set up. Walk over here. What's in this room? HECP room. This was his office. You can tell all the pictures on the wall. This is World War II era. The radio room. I'm sure state of the art back in the day. Let's see if you can read all those. I can see, oh, that door's locked. Airlock. In case of a chemical weapons attack, they can get into the command post here through that door. Message center. And more work that way. Plus another big door. Let's see if we can go in this door. We can. Coal-fired furnace for the heating room. About the same size of the heater Mom's got in her basement. Power room. We're going with generator. And then you gotta go back upstairs. But there's the outside. So this is the outside access door. So that was Fort Sumpter and Fort Moultrie, two of the main and important forts in the Charleston Harbor defense system. It's pretty cool to come around. It's great to have the family with me and to get the chance to come by and see these places. If you're ever down here, come see them. But for now, we've been walking most of the day. We're tired, we're hungry. I think we're gonna call it a day on the history trip and get back and get a bite to eat. So thank you all for stopping by with us. I hope you enjoyed getting a little bit of history of Charleston and Civil War era history, which I love the most. And just thank you for hanging out. Until next time, love one another and love diesels. Love one another as the good Lord tells you. We'll see you guys on the next video.